You can buy it and it comes in sheets already. I thought it's important for you guys to know how to work with commercial puff and that there is such a thing. But with your blitz, or your blitz, not your blitz, your inverted and classic, roll it out to like about the width of the sheet pan. The sheet pan is 60. So as long as you can get this wide, and then however, I don't care how long, but this wide. And there should be no reason it's not rectangle, right? Because you guys were folding in a rectangle. So try and keep it rectangle. Because not all of the pieces we're cutting from this are rectangle, but it's better to have it in this rectangle shape. Have a feel of how thick this is. And feel how firm it is. All of your dough will be this firm because it's been sitting in the fridge for that long, right? Remember how this feels in thickness and in firmness. If your dough feels any softer than this, don't roll it and don't cut it because it's just going to be difficult for you. All right? You want it to be, when it's relaxed, it should be firm like this. Don't try and shape things when it's not like this because the shapes at the end are just going to get warped. The warmth of your hand or the environment will cause that fat dough to warp. And in the end, as much as possible, we want like nice shapes, right? Like when I cut a circle for my pithivier, I want the circle, the product, the pithivier in the end after baked to be circular. I don't want it to be oval. I don't want it to be a weird shape. So always, always remember, it should feel like this, nice and firm. And if it doesn't, just throw it in the fridge. This is where the patience comes in. You're going to see people at your table cutting all their pieces and you've not. And you're like, no, I'll cut it now. No, you have to wait. I think that's the most challenging thing. People are like, no, it's good enough. It's not. So roll this out first or second, doesn't matter. And then let it relax in the fridge. We'll cut the pieces out at the end of the day. And then this commercial puff, it's already rolled up in, which is awesome. You need to just roll it out a little bit more. Just a touch more. Try to keep the rectangle shape. My table is not, these metal tables are never exactly flat. That's why mine is warping a bit. And I'm not rolling it out a lot. You might not even need to roll it out that much. Okay, and then I want to puncture holes in it. This is my personal one, but there are 3 that everyone else can share, and you want to dock it. Like, seriously dock it. Heavily dock. Notice how many holes I'm putting in. The more holes, the better. What do you think this will do to the pastry? Why do I dock it? It's the same theory as in your pie class. Why do you dock the pie dough? I see mouth moving, but I can't hear words. I'm sure it was right. Just say it out louder. Soggy bottom? What's that? Yeah, because puff pastry is all those layers, right? And then it will puff. In this end product, I don't want it to puff. Sometimes you want the puff to like puff, but sometimes you just want the flakiness. You don't want it to puff. Because if you cause it to puff, it's going to give you a weird shape. You're making cream horns. And I'm going to be wrapping this pastry in strips around the mold. So in that case, I don't want it to puff. Because if the layers puff, then that shape will be gone. It won't happen. So anytime you are forming something that you don't want the puff, you dock it. You roll it really thin and you dock it. Okay? Puncturing the holes will prevent it from like blistering, from bubbling. And in some cases, that's what we want. So I'm using my ruler, and I'm going to cut strips. This table had divvied up the cream corn molds already. So if you still have it, use it. I know there's some in the bus bin there. And also, I saw a couple on the rack and roll in the corner. So you'll see I'm just cutting the strips nice and even. Anytime you're working with puff pastry product, it's always easier to form when it's cold. So you kind of have to hustle. Not like it's a race hustle, but the slower you are, the butter is melting, right? The fat is melting. It gets soft. It becomes difficult. Okay, so I have my strips. You want to have some just water, and not too much. I'm just going to do like a couple of strips at a time. That top. So the wet should always be facing up. Okay? You don't want the wet stuck to this, because then you won't be able to remove it. So the wet is facing you, and I'm just using gravity to create the surface tension. So I'm going to lift it, take one end, and I always start at the top, and I'm just going to wrap it around the mold. But the overlap of how I wrap it should be half of the thickness of this strip. Does that make sense? So I don't want to overlap it where it's not half the thickness. So if this is the strip, right? If this is the strip, the overlap is half. That makes sense? Okay, so there's one. And then some of your molds look like this, right? These have two openings on the end. But same thing, the wet is facing you, never the mold. And then, again, I'm going to wrap, letting gravity create the surface tension. And I want to go like half the thickness of that strip when I overlap. And then I'm just guiding like that, okay? So I think, what was it, 8, 9 each? 8 each, so everybody do 8 each first. And if there's any spares floating around, do those too. And then any scrap that you have, fold it up. When you're using scrap puff, like collecting scrap, we fold it. Don't like crush it into a big ball. Just fold the layers together. So, any questions about this?
Oh.
No? First, you can choose either of the two. Roll out your plastic and invert it into those big sheets, plastic and back in the fridge, or this. After you've done this, put it on sheet pan. You can share. Like 2 people on one big sheet pan, like 8 here, put your names on it, and then just in the fridge. Okay? And then once everybody has done that, we'll get started on the dish. Thanks, everybody.